The story kicks off with our boy Data lugging around a mysterious coffin. Talk about carrying the weight of the world, running for his life like he owes money to the mafia because a swarm of fairies is chasing him down. Greed got the better of him, and since that coffin weighs a ton, he gassed out and got backstabbed, literally, by one of the monsters. Data scuttles under a log, screaming his head off for Xylo to save his sorry hide. Just in the nick of time, Xylo swoops in like a budget Superman and one-shots the monster, sending it straight to the afterlife. Data, losing his mind from the pain, begs Xylo to just end him right there. Xylo gives him a hard no because he's too lazy to drag a corpse back. Data argues that the church can just necromance his soul into a new body anyway. Xylo, annoyed, delivers a loving punch to shut him up and reminds him that resurrection is a forbidden art with a laundry list of side effects: losing your humanity, losing your memories, the works. Xylo roasts him, asking if dying so many times has caused his brain to lag. Hearing about the side effects, Data instantly chickens out. Xylo adds a final blow: even if I dragged your carcass back, the church wouldn't bother reviving you. So, Data has to yank the spike out of his own gut while Xylo heats up a knife to cauterize the wound, Rambo style. Patched up, Xylo starts lecturing Data on his sticky fingers. Turns out, Xylo sent him to scout, but this genius decided to borrow some stuff from the Holy Knights, causing a commotion that led the monsters to ambush them. Data somehow managed to slip away to this spot. Xylo explains the gist: the demon's side released about 5,000 minions to block the path. Xylo knows it's a suicide mission, but they have to save the knights, or the church will execute the whole squad. Sure, they can respawn if they die, but Xylo doesn't want to wipe his save file, so he sucks it up and accepts his life as a corporate slave. Just as he's about to get to work, Xylo spots the coffin Data stole. He opens it up and holy moly, it's the body of a goddess. A bioweapon made to fight demon lords. Xylo decides to pull a dine and dash and leave the body right there. Suddenly, an SOS signal blares. Data sees the scout team completely surrounded and says it's a no-go. Xylo thinks otherwise, determined to farm some KPI by saving them to boost the mission's success rate. Just as he's prepping for combat, the baby goddess in the coffin wakes up. Suffering from main character syndrome, she thinks Xylo is her destined knight and offers to help in exchange for head pats and praise. Xylo takes one look at her and is already annoyed. Judging by her skin, he guesses she's Tiarita, the unactivated 13th goddess. Tiarita nods enthusiastically, proudly introducing herself as a guardian who brings miracles. She promises to grant Xylo any miracle he desires, but her queen of the world attitude just makes Xylo want to punch something. He makes it clear he doesn't need any goddess's help. So, Xylo assigns Data the noble task of babysitting the deadweight Tiarita, while he goes solo king mode and dives into the battlefield. Even though Xylo's attitude is trash, Tiarita sticks to him like a leech because she's already locked in on him being her knight. Xylo refuses any help, soloing the entire map using heat and light powers to barbecue the fairies. Data gets itchy hands and jumps in to deal some support damage with his lightning staff. The goddess tries to help Data, but he shoos her away like a bad omen. Please, lady, just standing there breathing is help enough. The mobs keep spawning like crazy. Xylo, being the only DPS, starts to flag as they swarm him. But our boy stays in the fight. Meanwhile, Tiarita is just trotting behind him, claiming she's protecting him, looking exactly like a lost toddler in a supermarket. Finally, the map is cleared, and he manages to save 7 holy knights. But lo and behold, these dudes are the definition of biting the hand that feeds you. The moment they realize Xylo is a penal hero, they instantly switch to their high and mighty attitude. Being saved by a criminal like you is a stain on our honor. They even have the nerve to demand why Tiarita is there, claiming she should have been shipped off like cargo by now. The tension is thick enough to cut with a knife when suddenly, a hello? Hello, rings inside Xylo and Data's heads. It's Venetum, a fellow hero using telepathy to make a free long-distance call. Venetum screams, "We are so screwed." The main Holy Knight army is rushing headfirst into a suicide mission. They're marching out to go all in against the Demon Blight army. Xylo is baffled. Wait, wasn't the script to retreat and preserve our forces? Turns out the church pulled a fast one, scamming the heroes hard. A knight on the scene confirms it was Commander Kivia's order, all-out attack. This sudden plot twist puts the heroes in a massive bind. Because if 50% of the Holy Knights log out, the mission fails, and the heroes will be dragged off to be roasted barbecue style after they respawn. Being a corporate slave is truly never easy. Xylo asks for the combat location. Venetum reports it's the second crossing point on the river. Xylo decides to backpack it over there immediately. Before leaving, he herds the knights he just saved toward the south, telling them, "You guys are already crippled, don't go out in the wind." These drama queens demand to live and die for their commander, but Xylo yells at them, promising the way back is cleared of mobs and telling them to just run south to meet the supervising team. As for Vanitam's situation, he'll deal with that later. The knights, hearing something reasonable for once, agree immediately because nobody is crazy enough to die for nothing. Xylo sighs, I swear, I just want to watch these holy knights get wiped out so I can be free of this burden. But if they die, my team goes to the chicken coop too. So, he reluctantly drags Dada and the goddess of trouble, Tiarita, along for the ride. Meanwhile, the holy knights are planning to camp and sleep in when the scouts sound a code red, monsters incoming. Monsters incoming. The archery unit hurriedly loads their lightning staffs, getting into formation to welcome the guests. Commander Kivia rides out onto the stage looking super cool, ordering, lure them in close, then open fire. Monsters in range. Kivia shouts, fire. The fairies get electrocuted and blown apart. Wave 1 cleared. Wave 2 brings trolls. Kivia decides to go big, pulling out the hot stuff, a mega lightning staff. One shot, and the troll turns into a well-done, burnt to a crisp steak. Kivia laughs triumphantly, with this, I can take on the whole demon family tree. Xylo and Dada are sitting in VIP seats, watching the drama unfold through binoculars. Xylo shakes his head. Shooting like that, they'll run out of ammo in no time. What are they gonna use to fight the final boss? Dada spots something weird. Hey bro, those soldiers following Lady Kivia look unfamiliar. I don't see the usual crests. I don't think these guys are on the must-save list. Dada tries to back out. Screw 'em. Not our mission. But little sister Tiarita starts acting like a saintess. We must save them. We must share the glory of victory with them. Dada listens and wants to get depressed. Wake up, lady. In this world, nobody wants to share clout with criminals like us. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the mega lightning staff runs out of battery. Kivia decides to switch tactics to doing it the brute force. She orders her soldiers to grab spears and rush into melee combat with the monsters. The wounded squad charges forward like raging bulls. Xylo looks through his binoculars and exclaims with deep concern, is this crazy Lady Kivia actually tripping? Xylo starts showing off his galaxy brain prediction skills. He's willing to bet the house that these fairies are gonna pull a full-on ambush on Kivia's army from all sides, trapping them with no way out. The reason he rates these mobs so high is that the demon blight pulling the strings is a 4D chess player with infinite IQ, definitely not some scrub to be messed with. Knowing the situation is sketchy, Xylo planned to go down and have a secret huddle with Big Sis Kivia to cook up a counter-strat ASAP. But just as he was about to yeet himself down there, his partner in crime Dada had already ghosted him without a trace. Looking around, Xylo found a note Dada left behind, and the contents screamed total griefer. I'm off to secure the bag from the knights. Tons of top-tier goodies here. Catch you later. Xylo read it and almost had a stroke, totally done with this guy. He swore on his life that the next time he sees that kleptomaniac, he's gonna permanently ban him from the Earth server just to be rid of the headache. But whatever, that's a problem for later. Right now, Xylo is stuck with the deadweight Tiarita as his only ally. Xylo was just about to give her a TED talk on why he absolutely despises those broken, cheating goddess powers, when he got rudely interrupted by shockwaves from the battlefield slapping him right in the face. Xylo popped his flight seal and rocketed toward the battlefield. Mid-flight, he spotted another mob wave trying to backdoor from the left wing. But he decided to just leave them on read and dove straight into the mosh pit. He unleashed an AoE wipe, sending dozens of monsters to the respawn screen in a heartbeat. Suddenly, hundreds of snake-like mobs rained from the sky. Any knight they touched got deleted instantly. Watching his allies dropping like flies right before his eyes, Xylo went goblin mode, slaughtering and clearing an entire wave of fairies in seconds. Commander Kivia saw this random guy and rushed over to ID check him. Who the hell are you? Spill it. Before Xylo could even pull out his ID, Tiarita landed and completely stole the show. Kivia lagged out for 5 seconds because she instantly recognized the 13th goddess, a total SSR unit. Xylo hurriedly reassured her, chill, sis. I swear on my honor I haven't signed any marriage contract with this girl, no cap. Turns out, this contract is basically getting locked in for life. Whoever the goddess picks as her knight has to be her babysitter and bodyguard forever. Big Sis Kivia was about to press him for his identity, but Xylo brushed her off. Cut the drama, lady. We ain't got time for this. The final boss is incoming. It's literally corrupting the server everywhere it goes. Just as he said that, the sky went dark. The weather switched up faster than a toxic X. They all saw a massive rock erupting violently. Xylo's survival instincts screamed one thing, run for your life. But of course, Kivia is a massive tryhard. No way she'd let her soldiers retreat and take the L in shame. The soldiers were thirsty for battle too, determined to stand their ground and keep the mobs away. They spammed their attacks enthusiastically. But tough luck. This monster pulled an Uno reverse card, reflecting the damage right back. It returned a hail of arrows that left the soldiers completely wrecked. The whole squad instantly realized that ranged attacks were nerfed to the ground. Now, the only way to win was to get up close and personal, but that was high-key risky. Xylo turned to roast Kivia. "Yo sis, you got any catapults?" He wanted to use the heavy artillery to camp from a safe distance. Kivia was ruthless. "All the OP gear is with the 1st Legion. Here, we only got swords." She was about to command a charge, but Xylo grabbed her and chewed her out before she could even react. Xylo mocked her. "Are you tripping? You know it has reflect damage and you still want to feed? Fall back, ASAP." Hearing this, Kivia's ego flared up. She snapped, "I'm the boss here. I planned for us to go down swinging to protect the city." That's when Xylo finally dropped the bomb. "Actually, I'm the hero chosen to hard carry your sorry asses." Hearing this, Kivia didn't respect him, she hated him even more. She clapped back, "You're a hero, you have infinite respawns. Why do you care if we die? We're playing on hardcore mode with one life." She was even saltier seeing the deadweight Tiarita standing there. She reminded Xylo his only job was this escort mission, get the girl to safety, and her squad would die happy. That was her plan, and she was sticking to it. Xylo turned to grill Tiarita on why she was there, stating firmly, "I swear I'm never signing that pyramid scheme contract with you. Go find some other sucker to scam." Tiarita called Xylo by his first name, which rang a bell for Kivia. But before she could background check him, the boss pulled up. It erupted, spewing bombs. Xylo screamed, "Take cover," and started juking the projectiles. The bombs landed and spawned a horde of mini-mobs that started wrecking the soldiers. Seeing the situation get sweaty, Xylo gathered momentum in the woods and flew out like Superman, landing a critical hit on the boss's back. He thought he had a highlight reel moment, but crack. The sword snapped in half right on the monster's back. Xylo clicked his tongue. "Welp, my RNG is absolutely trash today." He declared his luck had run out. The monsters knocked the commander's weapons away. Xylo got hit and faceplanted. The screen faded to black. Xylo woke up to Tiarita sobbing next to him. She was beat up too. She begged, "Bro, please turn on the hacks, or we're all gonna wipe here." Xylo struggled up, still stubborn, "Hard pass. I don't need those dirty cheats." But looking over at the soldiers getting farmed, Xylo realized without the buff, they were truly cooked. Still, with his ego through the roof, he tried to pass the buck. He screamed at Kivia, "Yo sis. Sign the contract with this girl. Use her power to carry the team." But the response was a deafening silence. Xylo realized Kivia had actually logged out for real. Things were spiraling out of control. Xylo reluctantly had to sell his soul to the corporate overlord. He took off his glove, grabbed his sword, and asked Tiarita how to sign. He cut his hand blood donation style, and Tiarita kissed the blood. Both went into a trance. Contract sealed. Tiarita asked, "Which subscription plan do you want?" Xylo roared, "The one that teaches these mobs a lesson and sends them running for the hills." Tiarita's eyes lit up with a whole inventory of swords. She buffed his power, and together they spammed thousands of swords onto the battlefield, wiping the entire mob wave in a split second. The surviving knight's jaws hit the floor. But Tiarita was hyped, wagging her tail demanding rewards, "Praise me. Head pat me." But Xylo kept his cool guy persona, completely ghosting her and walking away. The grind never stops, so he picked up a sword, reminding her there were still some stray fairies that needed to be deleted. He threw the sword to send them to the Shadow Realm, but when he ran out of ammo, he screamed at Tiarita for a resupply. She threw him a sword while yapping that he better praise her, so Xylo snatched it and chucked it at the fairies, clearing a path for himself. Walking a bit further, Xylo saw big sis Kivia crawling up, and even though she was truly too angry to die, he couldn't care less, immediately barking orders for her to clean up the remaining creeps and heal the wounded. Kivia gave him the death stare, basically asking who he thought he was ordering her around since he was just a trash tier hero. But Xylo brushed it off, telling her to just do it for survival. Then he boldly declared he was gonna go solo the boss, saying they could talk about praise or punishment after he respawned, before hoisting the deadweight Tiarita onto his shoulder and marching heroically toward the demon lord's lair. The deeper they went, the more the mobs swarmed like a Zerg rush, so Xylo drew his sword, slicing through them like he was playing Fruit Ninja. Tiarita had itchy hands and wanted to jump in, but Xylo said hard no, telling her to sit tight because he had a strat to hard carry the team. Arriving in front of the boss and seeing its cursed model, Tiarita turned pale but still tried to trash talk, claiming her dream was to punch him in the face. Xylo cleared a bloody path straight to the boss, and when Tiarita asked if she could pop her ult yet, Xylo told her to hold her horses. He rushed in to poke the demon lord, but it spawned a ton of minions, causing them to get ganked from all sides, so Xylo finally nodded, signaling to cut the acting because it was showtime. Allowed to break her seal, Tiarita unleashed a skill that wiped the surrounding mobs, and understanding the assignment, she buffed Xylo with a supermassive, flaming BFG of a sword, exactly the meta weapon he needed to send the boss to the afterlife. Executing a wombo combo, Xylo jumped up and landed a critical hit right through the demon lord, then jumped back to reset. However, life ain't a fairy tale, and since this boss was a total bullet sponge who refused to take the L, it raged again, switching aggro to Tiarita. Seeing his future waifu in danger, Xylo screamed her name, rushing in to play tanker and taking the full hit with his body before faceplanting. Waking up on the other side, he saw Tiarita crying her eyes out, begging him not to log out after sacrificing himself for her. Suddenly, the loot goblin Data respawned out of nowhere, holding the terrain seal, basically a tactical nuke. When Xylo asked where he yoinked that from, Data denied it with his standard NPC dialogue, claiming he was innocent and it just fell into his hands. Deciding that a 5-finger discount at the right time is a skill, Xylo snatched the nuke, launched himself like a missile, and shoved it where the sun doesn't shine inside the monster. Jumping off, he shouted for the whole team to yeet themselves out, and boom, the demon lord exploded like fireworks, deleting the mini-mobs along with it. Xylo explained to Tiarita that since the boss got deleted, the minions servers shut down too, and since he's used to speed-running bosses, this was basically just another Tuesday for him. Recovering from the fight, Tiarita ran over wagging her invisible tail, claiming the W was all thanks to her buffs and demanding head pats like she was the heroine in a cheesy K-drama, but Xylo gave her the cold shoulder, simply saying good job on not dying. Tiarita was shook because she couldn't believe a goddess was getting a participation trophy just for surviving, but Xylo doubled down, insisting that whether you're a knight, hero, or goddess, surviving the match is the only dub that matters. Although she was salty about the mid-compliment, she kept nagging, so Xylo reluctantly gave her a head pat, but that exact moment triggered PTSD-style flashbacks of a former goddess, giving him a massive headache. Just then, Big Sis Kivia returned with her squad to catch them in 4K, and now that she had their full rap sheet, she read out the charges: Data for stealing national assets, and Xylo for unauthorized partying with a goddess and KSNG the boss just for clout. Xylo couldn't be bothered to argue, and when Kivia claimed Tiarita was just a package meant to be shipped to Galwall Fortress, Tiarita clapped back, saying she didn't care because it was destiny and she only wanted Xylo as her knight. Kivia was shocked, asking if the girl was delusional and didn't know about Xylo's massive red flags, revealing that he was sentenced because he literally deleted a goddess. Turns out, Xylo had faced a court-martial back when he was a legit commander, accused of going rogue and fighting 11 demon blights without authorization, but Xylo argued that he had receipts from a messenger claiming backup was coming, only to get ghosted and forced to sweat it out alone. The court claimed that was cap and accused him of chasing clout, asking if he killed the goddess, which Xylo bitterly admitted to. That day was a super sweaty match, and goddess Sinarva, wanting to save her people and farm some praise, went completely out of mana, triggering a hidden mechanic where a drained goddess gets corrupted by the demon lord. To prevent a disaster, Sinarva begged for a mercy kill, so he did it, but the boomer judges refused to believe the possession mechanic existed, gaslighting him and convicting him of blasphemy and murder. Getting jumped right there in the courtroom, Xylo looked up and realized the whole thing was rigged from the start. The fake orders, the battle, and the monsters were all a massive setup, so that day, he vowed to start his revenge arc against those scumbags, and his punishment was the sentence to become a hero. A few days after the first mission wrapped, Xylo was busy rotting in his tent at the base when Tiarita straight up yanked him out of bed. He started grumbling, telling her to stop gatekeeping his nap time, and wondered why she was still hanging around since the knights already leaked his dark past to the whole group. Tiarita admitted that hearing Xylo once skewered a goddess was a bit of a red flag at first, but she had a rock-solid delusion that he must have had a valid reason. Xylo just rolled over in bed and dropped a cold truth bomb: reasons don't even matter, FR. The fact is I killed a god. It is what it is. After that, he told Tyla that their little contract could be cancelled if they both agreed to it. Basically, she just had to say the word and they could go their separate ways. But Tyla hard disagreed. She declared Xylo her exclusive knight and said she was sticking to him like glue no matter what. Right then, Xylo got a ping from his boss Venedim about a new mission that required him to move out ASAP. Winter was starting to settle in, and Tiarita was vibing with the frozen scenery, eyes sparkling. But her curiosity quickly became a major ick, making both Xylo and Venedim tired of her 24/7 QA session. Meanwhile, back at HQ, Kivia got her own side quest. According to the higher-ups, she had to cancel the original transport mission and head to the Zimun mine to assist with the cleanup. Kivia was like, wait, is that mine infested with blight demons too? The boss explained that since the Fourth War and the spawn of Blight Demon number 1, a huge chunk of the forest had been corrupted. In the last 20 years, humanity had lost a ton of living space and couldn't let the virus spread any further. To secure the W, the hero team was sent in as backup. Kivia pinned the location and said she'd rendezvous with the squad. Before she left, the boss told her to send his regards to High Priest Marlin if she saw him. That night, the squad set up camp in the woods. Tia Rita was wondering where the homie Dada had gone. Xylo explained with zero emotion that he was currently in the hospital for maintenance because he'd started some drama the other day and Xylo accidentally physically interacted with him a bit too hard. A guy calling himself His Majesty told Xylo to treat allies with more grace. Xylo just nodded to avoid a whole TED talk on morality. Tia Rita leaned in and whispered, "Why do you keep calling him His Majesty?" Xylo explained the guy was also a hero, but he was deep in his Delula phase, fully believing he was the king of the Alliance. It's just easier to vibe with his fantasy. Apparently, he was forced to be a hero because he once launched a massive terrorist attack to reclaim his throne. Tia Rita was shook and quickly changed the subject to the guy standing there looking lost. Xylo said that was Tatsuya. Tia Rita thought it was weird that he just stared at the sky 24/7. Xylo told her that every time a hero dies and respawns, they lose pieces of their memory and personality. If they aren't careful, they'll all end up as an empty shell like Tatsuya someday. The next morning, they hit the village. The villagers saw the backup and looked totally depressed. Venetim thought it was SUS. Usually, NPCs in a danger zone like this would have evacuated already. Xylo headed to a shop to fetch some intel. The shopkeeper was terrified when she realized he was a hero, but Xylo told her to chill, they were just there to handle the mine situation. But the lady was brutally honest, "It's mid, don't bother. This village has lost too many people to the Blight Demons already. We're finished." She walked off before Xylo could even ask for directions, leaving him with a massive L on his face. Just as he was about to give up, a tiny girl caught Xylo's attention and pointed toward the tunnel. Xylo thanked her and dipped. But before he could take 2 steps, she asked, "Are you going to save my dad?" Xylo went silent and just kept walking. Even though he felt bad, he knew the truth. If her old man was in that mine, he'd been sipping tea with the ancestors for a long time. He didn't want to give her any fake hope. Later, Xylo regrouped with the squad to sync their intel. This Siwan mine produced high-tier iron used as a catalyst for holy seals to fight the Fae. That's why the military dumped a bag of money here, but now it was just a massive spawn point for monsters. Tia Rita asked what a holy seal even was. Xylo explained it was the thing that made him so cracked in combat. But for the actual theory, he yeeted the question over to His Majesty. His Majesty was a holy seal pro, a genius who could solo carry tasks that usually took 10 people. But even with the seals, it wasn't enough to clear the lobby. As the group approached the mine, Venetim dropped the situation report. About a month ago, villagers reported miners turning into Fae and biting people. The details were blurry, but they identified Blight Demon number 51, codename Lotus. The mission today was to dig a path for the paladins to rush in. Basically, everyone had to enter the lion's den. However, when Venetim said everyone, he meant everyone except him. As the commander, he declared he had to stay in the city to coordinate. Then he ran off like a coward. The squad moved on without him. For the next few hours, Xylo and Tatsuya were busy digging. His Majesty was busy carving holy seals onto the digging tools to buff their power. Tia Rita asked to help, but Xylo said no, he wasn't about to let a goddess do manual labor. Right then, Kivia showed up, mentioning the higher-ups confirmed Dada was the one who stole Tia Rita's coffin, not Xylo. This was her way of apologizing without actually saying sorry. She asked why he didn't try to clear his name back then. Xylo said even if he spoke up, she wouldn't have believed him. To avoid future drama, Kivia told Xylo he had to file full reports from now on. Xylo agreed but said this mission smelled fishy. He pointed out the logic flaw: the mine was full of monsters, winter was coming, and it had 0 value, yet the church was obsessed with it. Xylo suspected they were actually targeting Tia Rita. Kivia told him to stop with the conspiracy theories and just do his job. But Xylo realized even Kivia didn't know the real tea behind this mission. After a few hours of grinding, Xylo broke through into a giant cavern. As soon as he poked his head in, a pack of demon centipedes said hello. Tatsuya dove in to start slashing, and Xylo was going to blow them up but backed off so he didn't cause a cave-in. Tatsuya carried the whole team on his back, clearing the mobs quickly. Afterward, he was straight up gasping for air. His Majesty used light magic to scan the map and found a clean spot, so the squad decided to set up their base there. Tia Rita begged for a job again. Seeing the place was safe, Xylo finally let her go plant some ceiling stakes. He explained these stakes were to stop the blight from spreading. Tia Rita was hyped, finally doing something useful instead of just being a trophy goddess. A bit later, the area was sealed up. Tia Rita ran back to Xylo, demanding a hot reward for her hard work. Since she actually did a good job, Xylo promised to give her a shout-out when they got home. But Tia Rita tried to do the most, demanding they go deeper into the cave to kill the demon lord. Xylo shut her down immediately. First, it was too much work. Second, it was against orders. He brutally told her if she wanted to play hero and save the world, she should go sign up with the Royal Knights because they weren't hiring her. Tia Rita was visibly salty. She swore to follow him, but he kept treating her like a kid. When was she ever gonna get to slay for real? Right then, the king caught an SOS signal on the radio. The knights outside were getting jumped at the cave entrance. Kivia led the charge into combat against the infected. But the enemies were infinite, and the knight team was getting farmed. When Xylo's group arrived, several knights had already been deleted. Xylo wanted to save them immediately. But before that, Tia Rita asked a heart-wrenching question: were those monsters once human? Xylo confirmed it, but said they were cooked now. The best thing was to send them to the respawn screen to set them free. After the fight, the young knights were having a mental breakdown from having to kill their own kind. Suddenly, Xylo spotted a guy hiding behind some crates. Turns out, he was a survivor trapped from the start. This meant there were still civilians inside. His Majesty, in full king mode, said they had to save the people ASAP. But Kivia hard rejected the idea, saying their gear was mid and a rescue mission would just be a total wipeout. The knights would die in bunches. However, Kivia didn't want to just leave the civilians to rot. She asked the expert Xylo what the success rate was if they risked it. Xylo dropped a cold take: the knights all die. Trying to protect NPCs in a tiny hallway like that was basically a death sentence. Just as the vibes were getting tense, a high priest Marlin showed up with his punchable face. He told Kivia to ignore the advice of a prisoner like Xylo. The orders were clear: blow up the entrance and bury the mine. Better to kill them all than let one Fae escape. His Majesty went off, unable to believe Marlin would openly sacrifice innocent people like that. But Marlin just smirked. He knew all about His Majesty's messy past and enjoyed seeing him powerless. Xylo wasn't a fan of letting people die either, but he's all about that safety-first life and didn't want to risk it. However, looking at Tia Rita, he suddenly remembered the sad eyes of the little girl asking about her dad. His conscience finally kicked in, and Xylo pulled a last-minute U-turn. He declared that the night base was finished, meaning the main mission was technically complete. Now I'm just bored, and if I go save people during my overtime, who's gonna stop me? Tia Rita was hyped, ready to play hero. But Xylo blocked her immediately, telling her to stay put. He wasn't about to let her die amid death over this. And that's the end of episode 2. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss Xylo's unpaid, bloody overtime in the next episode, besties. Right now, the villagers are pinned down in a corner of the mine, desperately fighting back against the fairies. Sounds fancy, but their interface is straight up hideous. Just as they're about to become dessert for the monsters, Xylo spawns in like a god and makes the monsters go boom. Tatsuya also jumps into the mosh pit, slaughtering without mercy. His movements are quick, clean, and totally pro. A worm tries to use its silk to tie his legs, but sorry, his instincts are too cracked. He pulls a U-turn, shreds the silk, and conveniently sends the rest of the mob to the lobby. In just a few minutes, he and Xylo have completely cleared the map. But the game isn't over yet, girls. Saving people is one thing, but dragging these heavyweights out of the cave is a whole different challenge called an escort mission. So Xylo asks His Majesty to carve sacred seals onto the villagers' pickaxes so they have a tiny chance of survival. These seals run on photosynthesis energy. Normally, you just leave them in the sun to charge, but in this pitch black hole, where is the sun? So these items are just one-time use with weak-ass battery life. Xylo's seals work the same way, but the thing is, his body is like a high-capacity power bank. He holds way more than a regular person, which is why he's been able to spam explosion skills this whole time. Even so, the battery is tanky but not infinite, so the whole squad has to dip fast before he shuts down and the team becomes target practice. Just as they're packing up to head out, boom, the ground shakes violently. Dozens of fairy monsters surround them from all sides. Talk about bad timing. It's unbelievably unlucky, but there's no other choice. Xylo screams for everyone to form a defensive formation and hold out as long as possible. He starts blowing up a few monsters to flex his power, but the workers are having a blood pressure drop, shaking like leaves because they've never thrown hands in their lives. The sucky part is, if they don't fight now, they're just monster food. Xylo snaps defend or become fairy pate, choose fast. Meanwhile, on the other side at the cave entrance, the knights are just chilling, catching the breeze and waiting to see if Xylo survives while they set up the base. The whole time, Tiarita is just sitting in a corner being antisocial because her crush left her behind. Young Marlon sarcastically tells Kivia that Tiarita is trash, has zero weapon value, and is only good at being Xylo's tail, but ignoring Marlon's roasting, Kivia drops the final word. Once the base is set up, she and the knights will go in for backup immediately. After a super intense combat, Xylo and his gang have deleted the monsters, but the villagers' morale has hit rock bottom. They're in despair, thinking this plan is a total fail and there's no way home. Xylo tries to motivate the brothers to stand up and fight, but everyone is out of mana and has lost all faith in life. Xylo yells at them to stop acting like it's a funeral. Giving up means certain death, but nobody listens. Seeing the main lead is helpless, His Majesty decides to step in and use his talk no jutsu. He understands these men have dedicated their lives to work, making the kingdom rich and strong. They've overcome so many disasters before, this time will be no different. The king bluffs. There's nothing to fear, we are definitely living. Looking into the king's fiery, confident eyes, the workers feel like they've been injected with doping, regaining the motivation to stand up and go bloody mode. They realize Xylo, the king, and Tatsuya are heroes, the very people they were told their whole lives were the worst criminals. But these criminals chose to come back and save them while everyone else treated them like garbage. Truly emotional. Right then, the ground shakes again. Another wave of monsters pours in. Xylo is starting to get tilted because the monsters keep spawning endlessly. The workers stand up, raising their weapons ready to clash. When the monsters poke their heads out, Xylo opens the attack first. The workers are still shook, but they've decided to go all out. One guy swings his shovel randomly and BAM hits a worm right in the face. Thanks to the spell King buffed it with, that shovel deals insane damage. Seeing that, the rest of the guys realize, wait, we actually have a chance to win. So the whole squad rushes in to jump the worm, beating it to a pulp. At first, the hype was real, but using numbers over skill is a recipe for catching an L. A moment later, the workers start getting overwhelmed by the mob. The foreman gets a leg injury and can't run, about to be swallowed whole by a worm, but at the last second, whoosh, the worm gets shredded into mincemeat by a barrage of flying swords. Only one person can pull off that stunt. Xylo turns around and sees Tiarita standing there in a victory pose in the hallway, announcing her main character presence. Once everyone is safe, Tiarita flexes, alright, now hype me up, worship me. Xylo is like, dream on, honey, but King thanks her profusely because without her, several souls would have logged out for real. Tiarita brags, no biggie, with me and Xylo as a power duo, the W is guaranteed. Since Tiarita can spawn infinite swords, King gets a big brain idea to use those swords to build a fence so everyone can take a breather. While at it, King carves seals onto the swords too. While King is busy crafting, Xylo grabs Tiarita by the neck to interrogate her. I told you to stay outside, why did you sneak in here? She explains that she bypassed the knights easily, then demands Xylo praise her for being so clever. Xylo says no for the second time. Tiarita thinks Xylo is salty because saving people took too long, so she claps back. It's because you left me behind. Xylo cuts her off and drops a cold truth. I have no intention of using you or your power. After hearing that, she's beyond disappointed because her whole purpose in life is to be utilized, truly a masochist vibe. She asks, if I don't fight with you, what do you even want me to do? Xylo responds with that romance lead energy, I just want you to live, so I won't let you risk your life for some useless glory. Hearing this, Tiarita cheers up instantly because she knows Xylo actually cares about her. This makes her want to risk her life for him even more. How ironic, even though her nature is to love being praised, she still wants to live a glorious and useful life, and nobody can stop her. Xylo realizes he's being a bit selfish by forcing Tiarita to give up her desires, but before he can say another word, boom, another earthquake hits, and this time, the vibe is way worse than before. Warning, a gigaboss is about to spawn. When the monsters flood in, Xylo tells Tiarita to fall back for safety, but she's stubborn as a mule, saying she's not going anywhere. If you're so worried about me, then your mission is to protect me at all costs. Xylo loses the argument, he can't fight that logic, so he agrees to let Tiarita join the mosh pit, grabbing her sword and throwing it like a dart. One shot, one kill. The alpha worm is sliced in half. Just as he's about to throw another one, a piercing sound rings out like a Monday morning alarm, making the whole squad hit the floor in pain. Meanwhile, Tatsuya stays perfectly chill like nothing happened, simply because his build is just built different, immune to all debuffs. Tatsuya rushes in to slaughter the entire mob. In the meantime, Xylo realizes this sound is actually a psychological manipulation move from a nearby demon lord. Tiarita is also a tank and isn't affected, so she runs over to buff Xylo's energy to wake him up. A few minutes later, the final boss spawns. A giant humanoid lotus tree grows out of the ground, and I already know there's going to be some guys with salty tastes screaming she's my type. Let me explain, just watch. The boss keeps spamming the brainwashing sonic waves. The workers start losing control, following the call of the wild and walking toward it. Xylo tries to block them, screaming at the foreman to wake up, but the guy is so far gone he's about to tear his own face off. He's cooked. King is trying to hold on to his last bit of dignity with iron will and sheer hatred for the monster, but he can't do much. Xylo realizes leaving the protective circle is too risky, so he decides to hang back and play Marksman to support Tatsuya, Tiarita worriedly asks if Tatsuya is okay. Xylo reassures her that the guy's skill level is insane, so don't worry, but even a pro needs backup, so Xylo tells Tiarita to spam more swords. She's over the moon because she's finally being useful to Xylo, even if it's just as a support, so she spawns a mountain of swords for Xylo to throw as cover for Tatsuya. Tatsuya rushes in to close the gap with the boss, dodging like he's using cheats, then slices it in half, but reality hits different. Turns out it was just a bait, not the main body. Tatsuya gets snatched immediately. Xylo and Tiarita look around frantically and discover the real boss body hanging from the wall. Xylo prepares to land the finishing blow, but as he raises his hand, he realizes he's out of mana, shutting down at the most critical moment. Classic. Right then, the Night Squad arrives for backup, or actually, just to feed. The second they show their faces, they get hit by the sonic wave and start rolling around in pain. The boss drops its tentacles to turn them into salad. Xylo is forced to rush out and cut the lines to save them, but there are too many tentacles to handle. Seeing innocent people getting tortured, King goes full rage mode. He rips the tentacles off and switches his lantern to flamethrower mode to roast the boss into charcoal. Fire versus wood is the meta play, but before he can cook it thoroughly, the boss grabs King's leg and drags him into the sky. The lantern falls to the ground. The boss reaches for the lamp, but Tatsuya, who escaped who knows when. Tatsuya rushes in to save the day, pulling the lantern away to buy time for Xylo to recover it. However, before Xylo can roast the boss, it traps him in a cage to block the nozzle. It looked like a checkmate, but the boss made a huge mistake. It didn't account for the fact that King is an absolute madman. To punish evil, King is ready to go big. King literally chops off his own leg to escape the tentacles, free-falling and stabbing his weapon straight into the boss's eye. The impact eats King into the wall, but that was more than enough. The suicide mission attack forces the boss to release Xylo. And now, there's nothing stopping Xylo from sending it to meet its ancestors. Xylo lands the finishing blow. Kivya and the Night Squad are completely shook because the hero team, who were supposed to be criminals, literally carried the whole squad and deleted the boss. Marlon is speechless, zero trash talk left. As for King, he's alive but wrecked. He definitely needs to go for maintenance and get a new prosthetic leg. A moment later, the workers are brought to the surface to reunite with their families. Everyone also realizes that Venetim has been AFK this whole time, just chilling and doing absolutely nothing. King is taken to the repair shop to get his new leg installed. Xylo hopes he gets decent treatment because without his sacrifice, the father for the kids move, everyone would have been cooked today. Everyone is overjoyed and grateful to the heroes, but they're still a bit sus and afraid to get close because of the criminal label. Except for the foreman and his family, he comes over to thank them profusely. His daughter shyly steps up, giving Xylo a flower to thank him for saving her dad. Xylo is touched enough to drop a tear because it's rare to do a good deed and actually get properly recognized like this. Meanwhile, in another development, Marlon is back at it with his jealous and salty behavior. He tries to snake Kivya into reporting Xylo for breaking the law by dared to fight the boss without permission. But Kivya shuts him up immediately. The big sis decrees that Xylo saved countless lives, while he only tried to bait her into abandoning them. He deserves to be honored. That's the end of episode 3, truly a vibey ending. Smash that subscribe button and the notification bell to follow the next episode. Bye bye. After finishing the down-to-earth KPI at the ore mine, the whole team dragged their wrecked bodies back to base, Fortress Murid. On the way back, seeing the crowd as thick as a swarm of locusts, Tiarita's eyes went wide. Venetim explained that a festival was popping off, so people from all over were coming to vibe. But to Venetim right now, the festival meant absolutely nothing. He turned to groan at Xylo. Boss, please give me a sick pass. My mana is in the negatives if I grind any harder. I'm officially logging out of the server for real. Once they arrived, everyone dipped. Venetim and Dada ducked into a chill alleyway to dodge work. Dada was chugging wine loot he just borrowed from some merchant, drinking like there was no tomorrow. Venetim gave a light reminder. Reel it in, pops. The locals here gatekeep their money like it's a family grave. If you get caught, it's game over. But Dada, with his YOLO motto, didn't give a damn about anything. You rarely get a break like this, so why not enjoy it to the max? Meanwhile, at Xylo's room, which was basically a coffin apartment because it was so cramped, he was enjoying his day off with a classy hobby, reading. But reality hits different. Tiarita barged in to ruin the vibe, nagging Xylo to take her to the festival. Xylo said no immediately. Going out there means running into those toxic knights. I'd rather stay home and preserve my peace. Seeing she couldn't recruit him, Tiarita pulled out a zigboard to bait him into a match, flexing that Venetim just gifted it to her. While capping hard about the epic history of the game, Xylo threw a bucket of cold water on her. You actually believe Venetim's words? He's the king of cap. He made the whole thing up. Xylo refused to play because he was busy loading up on knowledge. Tiarita was beyond shocked. Wait, I thought you were just a brute who only knew how to kill. Who knew you had such a poetic, artistic soul? Xylo just shrugged and let her sit there and read alone. While they were chilling, the baddie Kivya appeared. Xylo thought she was there to drop a new task, his face twisting like he just ate a sour pepper. But nope, Kivya said she had some top secret business to discuss. Tiarita quickly cut in. Then let's discuss it while hitting the festival. With big sis Kivya as backup, not even the knights would dare to make a peep. Since it was a solid plan, Xylo and Kivya claimed the order. Tiarita was hyped because the plan worked out perfectly. Out on the streets, Tiarita revealed herself to be a total newbie who just fell from the sky. Everything was strange to her. Pointing at a bowl of candy, Xylo explained what it was, but she was clueless because the ancient times didn't have diabetes. At the food stall, Xylo recognized the fried noodles, but the other dish left him stumped. Kivia explained, "That's ice cream, a capital specialty, topped with honey, nuts, and caramel. It's fire." Hearing that, Tiarita was drooling, turning to Xylo with puppy eyes. Xylo, being a gentleman, couldn't say no and reached for his wallet. He turned to invite Kivia too, but she proudly declined. Xylo gave the cash to Tiarita and told her to buy too. While Tiarita was lining up, Kivia and Xylo had a small heart-to-heart. Kivia confessed, "I've low-key pulled a U-turn on you. At first, I thought you were just some trash criminal, but then you saved my soldiers, saved the civilians, and risked your life like a madman. You're legit." Xylo felt pretty good getting complimented like that. Kivia added the final blow, "Your actions also basically saved Tiarita's life." Xylo was confused. "Wait, what do you mean?" Kivia leaked some national-level top-secret files. Tiarita was found in the northern ruins. The 13th Night Legion was ordered to retrieve her, but the internal situation is total beef. The temple faction wants to form a contract with Tiarita to use her for war. The military faction, since Xylo has a criminal record for killing a goddess, came up with the sick idea of capturing Tiarita to dissect and research her to see if they can mass-produce more goddesses. To put it bluntly, they want to use her as a lab rat. But Xylo was fast enough to form the contract first, and the fact that he cooked 2 demon lords in such a short time proved that Tiarita is more useful alive than on an operating table. Xylo was tilted. Are they insane? Tiarita is a top-tier goddess, and they call her useless? Kivia explained, goddesses from the Great Civilization era all had terrifying skills like summoning storms, lightning, or seeing the future. Tiarita only knows how to summon swords. Compared to the other 12 sisters, this skill is considered budget tier and trash. Those knights know the orders from above are wrong but have to follow them anyway, so they have this mindset of wanting to sacrifice themselves to atone. After hearing that, Xylo's blood was boiling. He demanded Kivia give him the next mission right here and now. He wants to grind his KPIs so well that he proves Tiarita is VIP pro tier, so no one dares to drag her off for dissection again. The new mission, Siege Defense. A bit later, Xylo and Venedim met the campaign commander. This old guy explained a plan that makes you want to get depressed. 1. Use your lives to defend the fortress. 2. Bait the demon lord into the area. 3. Finally, activate Goddess No. 9's AoE toxin to take it down. Xylo laughed in the commander's face. Everyone knows toxins only provide a temporary stun against a demon lord. There's no way it actually kills it. This plan is basically a meat grinder. The commander nodded and admitted it, but ended with a cold-blooded statement. The plan has been updated to version 2.0. This time it's totally legit. Specifically, turning the fortress into a serial slaughterhouse to boil the demon lord alive. And the hero team's mission? Simple, act as human shields until you're all dead. Venedim questioned, "Wait boss, after baiting it into the trap, can't we just slip away fast? Why do we have to die in a group project?" The commander was stone-cold. "Rules are rules, don't talk back. If anyone tries to escape the fortress, their tattooed collar will activate, sending the whole team to permanently log out of the server." Xylo was furious, not understanding why they had to be so extreme and force the heroes to die like that. But then he suddenly remembered that hateful priest from before. That old man definitely pulled some strings and used his connections for a personal vendetta. Plot twist, Venedim pulls a 180-degree U-turn and smiles like he's running for miscongeniality. "Bet, boss, my team accepts this suicide mission." But being the Lord of Snakes, he starts dropping some minor suggestions. Rule change, instead of one person messes up, the whole team pays. Let's change it to only if the whole squad flees do we die, because if some depressed kid wants to reset their game early and runs out, getting the whole team clapped would be totally unfair. Personnel issue, Tiarita is a Xylo stan, she's gonna stick to him like glue, so you gotta be okay with that, boss. The commander says he has zero authority to give orders to a goddess. That's a question for big sis Kivia. Venedim passes the ball to Xylo to go talk to Kivia. Before Xylo heads out, he reminds Venedim, "You've got the gift of gab, so use it to ask the boss for more troops and food for me." Venedim gives a thumbs up. "Easy clap, I got you." Let's recap Venedim's bio real quick so you guys don't forget. Before getting tossed into the hero camp, this guy was a universal tier con artist. His criminal record: he once almost successfully sold the royal palace to a circus, but that's not even why he got busted. Back in the day, he was a tabloid journalist, and his boss told him to write something to scare the public for clout. He made up a total cap story saying, "The big shots in the temple and the royal family are actually demons." In disguise, he lied 100%, but somehow he nailed it. The truth was actually exactly like that, which is the wild part. The article was so convincing the public totally fell for it. To silence this human megaphone, the court kicked him out to be a hero. Talk about karma hitting with zero misses. Back to the present, Venedim used his gaslighting skills to convince the commander to agree to every demand, but reality hits different. Venedim got stuck with the mission of babysitting Tiarita to safety if things go south. With his one gust of wind and he's gone build, this mission looks like a total fail. The good news is the backup Xylo asked for got approved. Save, an old member of the squad, is back. but he's a total menace, so hearing the news, Data looks like he just lost his life savings. He's definitely not hyped to work with him again. Switching scenes to Save, he's out there gambling, the opponent wins, but Save instantly calls out his dirty play. Thanks to his super sensitive eyes and senses, Save knows all his tricks. The guy refuses to admit it and tries to use force to intimidate Save into giving up the cash. Save is like, "You're trying to threaten me? L move, bro," swoosh. Save chops off the guy's hand like he's slicing veggies to punish the cheating. Once finished, he casually stands up and leaves because he's hungry. Absolute savage. That's the end of episode 4, besties. Subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss the bloody combat in the next episode. Bye bye.